The NCAA suspends Jim Harbaugh, which I suppose would matter if the charges were in the NCAA. It's a close call, but there are reasons to believe Rui Hachinura will be the Lakers' fifth starter, and the Galaxy add a German legend to an already frightening offense. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. And so it is August 8th, 2024, still in southern Illinois for one more day before I go back home. So be it. We're going to start the day off right. Like a big cup of OJ, we're going to talk about LA sports and feel better about things. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes and look at the scoreboard, Dave Roberts ripped what he thought was a bad call on obstruction, and that led to a 5-run rally for the Phillies as Philadelphia bludgeoned the Dodgers 9-4. Honestly, you can complain about the call, but I don't care that much. The bullpen made Kyle Schwarber look like Reggie Jackson out there. Schwarber hit 3 home runs. 3. Now, Freddie Freeman drove in 3 runs in the loss. The Dodgers lead and the division is down to 3. We are going to talk more about what the Dodgers can do in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned. LAFC 2, Austin 0. Dennis Bouanga and Christian Oliveira score. LAFC advances to the round of 16 in League's Cup. Meanwhile, today it is Galaxy game day. The Galaxy are at Seattle in the round of 32 in League's Cup, and that match takes place at 7:30. What do you say we get to the news? Jim Harbaugh was suspended by the NCAA for a year for a role that he denies having in Michigan's very naughty recruiting methods. I suppose it matters because at some point he's going to leave the Chargers, right? Either Harbaugh retires, either he coaches somewhere else in the NFL, maybe in the spring league. Wouldn't The Rock love that? Maybe he builds the next generation of tough guys down in Pop Warner. Whatever. But if he decides to take a college job instead, he would have to sit out the entire first year of said agreement. On top of the year suspension, by the way. A university that would want to eventually hire Harbaugh before 2028 would have to go to the NCAA and explain themselves. And then if they hire Harbaugh, in addition to having him not coach the first year, Harbaugh would be banned from attending practice, travel with the team, video study, recruiting, team meetings until at least 2028. Basically, the NCAA is insisting that if Jim Harbaugh leaves the Chargers and goes back to college, that Jim Harbaugh should slide himself into a human-sized condom so that he does not spread his diseased seed all over the college landscape. The NCAA has already put his former college, Michigan, on 3 years probation. Just 3 years ago, Harbaugh asserted that his hands were completely clean despite a mountain of accusations against the Wolverines, including, by the way, a sign-stealing scandal that has not been resolved yet. This mountain of scandal is so high that Kelly Clarkson could hang glide off it. So if you're Jim Harbaugh, you're looking at all these sanctions. You're looking at all this judgmentalism from the scribes. You're looking at all of this, you naughty boy, coming out of the NCAA, and you're thinking, cool story, bro. Cool story. Because even if Jim Harbaugh face plants with the Bolts, all does he have to do? Really? If he gets fired, he just sits out a year and gets hired by another NFL team. Why does he want to go back to coach college in the first place? Michigan was supposedly the guy's dream job. Does he have a double dream job out there? Really? No. So he's probably done completely with college football, and he probably doesn't give a damn. Meanwhile, if you're Michigan, you're keeping your mouth shut and pumping your fist quietly like you got a hot girl's phone number because the NCAA didn't take their national title away. So, okay. And by the way, I'm not trying to say this to poop all over the Charger fans, because you don't care either. Why should you? There have been times when the Chargers last year played like they were a college team, but they're not in the NCAA. Jim Harbaugh suspended for a year as if he cares. I have been skimming across Twitter and I've marveled at how many people are disappointed that the Lakers didn't make a single move of significance in the offseason. Actually, I hear them. I kind of get it. They added players in the draft. We know about Dalton Knecht and Bronny James. But there were only 3 NBA teams that didn't sign a free agent or make a trade in the offseason. And the Lakers are one of them. So then you look over the roster. And the Athletic decided to take a stab at who would be on the starting lineup if the season opened today. Describe thinks Rui Hachinura gets the nod over Jared Vanderbilt. The other 4 starting spots are obviously set. LeBron James ain't losing his gig. Neither is Anthony Davis. D'Angelo Russell, hey, it is what it is. And Austin Reeves. So, why Hachimura? Well, because after Hachimura replaced the now departed Taurean Prince in the starting lineup, that happened in early February, the Lakers went 22-10 for the rest of the season. They had the 3rd best offense in the league because with Hachimura, they create a lot of matchup problems. But they have one on defense. See, James is pushing 40. So it's not a good idea to ask an injury-prone, middle-aged man to lock down an athletic wing, even if he is LeBron James. So, theoretically, you put James at the power forward, you cross your fingers with Hachimura out there. Now, it's true that Vanderbilt provides defense, but he's such an offensive liability that opposing teams gladly stick their worst defender on him. Nobody thinks that Jared Vanderbilt can consistently shoot from outside of 10 feet. And we have no idea if he would even play a role in J.J. Redick's game plan. All we've been hearing about J.J. Redick is how this guy loves to X and O, which insinuates that he loves to create offense. And if you're going to create offense, that's Hachimura over Vanderbilt. But that could be wrong. Been wrong before. Meanwhile, if you pull the camera back a little on the Lakers roster, you would suspect that they have a rotation of about 9 players. We mentioned the starting 5. There's a belief that Knecht is already NBA ready, that Max Christie is ready to make a jump. But players 10 through 15 on that roster, pretty nasty to look at. Pretty nasty. That would include both backup centers. It would include Maxwell Lewis, Cam Reddish, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and you guessed it, Bronny James. So, not the worst roster in the NBA. Probably Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup. It's all right. I don't know if I'd be hyping the idea of another championship banner in Crypto.com arena, but it's all right. There's a funny game of one-upsmanship going on between the Galaxy and LAFC. The Galaxy yesterday landed German legend Marco Reus after the guy played 12 years with Dortmund in the Bundesliga. He is a 2-time German Footballer of the Year. Scored twice for Dortmund on their path to the Champions League final, which is their version of the Super Bowl out in Europe. There is no set date for the midfielder to debut, although it creates a hell of a question for the Galaxy because they're already strong at midfield. That doesn't mean you don't want Marco Reus. It means who sacrifices their minutes for Marco Reus? Does Reus even start, considering he's in his mid-30s? Anything I tell you about it is complete speculation. I have no idea, other than to say I'm very skeptical Ricky Puig now rides the bench. Meanwhile, as for a game of anything you can do, I can do better, LAFC is reportedly in talks to add a French international, Antoine Griezmann. So, Reus and Griezmann, a German and a Frenchman, both coming to LA. What could possibly go askew there? What could possibly create controversy? Meanwhile, for the Galaxy, 3 days after standing tall in a penalty shootout victory in Leagues Cup, goalie Novak Mikovic has requested a transfer. Now, I would assume this is a gut reaction from being told that he will not be playing in tonight's match. The dude has played in just 8 games since joining the Galaxy last year, but the team insists he is in their long-term plans. He's 22. Let's be honest, he could very well be their starter of the future if they talk him out of it. And if they don't talk him out of it, peace. Be gone. You should only want players who actually want to wear your colors. We mentioned LAFC a few moments ago. Where is Carlos Vela? The Mexican national has not played since December with LAFC. Since then, he has been out of contract, which is soccer terminology for free agent. The dude has not announced his retirement, and it would be safe to assume that somebody wants the forward, who was LAFC's first ever signing. Now, LAFC chatted with him during the offseason, but nothing happened. Same, by the way, for San Jose. According to Tom Bogart, who is one of the few trustworthy soccer scribes in the country, he's writing that Vela it's not that he's making outrageous demands, as much as he is boxing himself in with his own preferences. He allegedly wants to stay in LA, or LA adjacent, one would presume. The problem is, there's not much there for him in that limited frame. The Galaxy have not even made an offer. Neither has expansion side San Diego FC. And we already discussed that LAFC, well, they're looking at their roster. They're thinking they're good. Can you blame them? Really? Even if you hate LAFC, can you blame them for thinking, yeah, we're good. We don't necessarily need Vela anymore. And we already mentioned San Jose. So he's not retired, but he's pretty much persona non grata right now, which is interesting, because the guy used to be absolutely devastating on the pitch. Based on the transfer portal, we have had this really strong idea that USC was going to start Easton Mascarenas-Arnold at center, because the dude was a tackling machine for Oregon State last year, and the Trojans were an absolute abomination at tackling last year. The question, though, is who would have gotten the other linebacking spot, because USC, from what we've been reading, is likely to run a 4-2-5 base defense. Now, if the LA Daily News is to be believed, you would put your money on Mason Cobb getting that second assignment at linebacker. It's not that the scribe said so as much, but because Cobb and Mascarenas-Arnold are apparently inseparable, and they are pushing each other in the practice fields, in sprints, even the sled pool. Also, consider last year that USC used 6 different combinations at inside linebacker last year. Cobb would always start. The question was, who did he line up with? So just from the process of elimination, you would assume that it's going to be Cobb and Mascarenas-Arnold. I don't think we're ever going to have a day without Dodger injury news. I really don't. Michael Grove was summoned up from AAA so that Brusdar Graterol could go on the injured list with a hamstring injury. It was not, however, a grade 3 hamstring injury as previously speculated, because that would have ended his season. That would have been a complete tear of the hamstring. Ouch. Turns out to be a grade 1, which means it's possible that he could return this season. Grove, meanwhile, missed 42 games with an intercostal strain. In layman's terms, his ribs hurt. But he did return. He even pitched last night. Miguel Rojas also returned and was put back in the starting lineup at shortstop, and that meant James Outman was sent back to Oklahoma City. The Athletic, meanwhile, took a stab at how the Dodgers will look once more players get healthy. Now, Gavin Lux has been on a tear, so he has second base locked up, and Mookie Betts, when he returns, is going to get shortstop. Obviously, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, they aren't going anywhere at first base and catcher. When Max Muncy comes back, right now, look, he's going to go on a rehab assignment this weekend. You're talking about people scrambling for playing time. It's going to be a scramble at third base. The recently acquired Tommy Edman appears to be headed to center field. So the only position of question should be third base, because you're probably thinking that Teoscar Hernandez has left field locked up and then Jason Hayward out and right. So for the most part, the Dodgers are going to look significantly different in the coming days. Yoshinobu Yamamoto will join the Dodgers when they fly to Milwaukee this weekend to face hitters for the first time since June. The chatter is at best he's going to return to the starting rotation in September. Now, I mentioned that the Dodgers outfield may or may not be coming into form, but Dalton Rushing, who was recently promoted to AAA, will be playing for AAA, not at catcher, but exclusively in left field. This was seen as the fastest way for him to get to the majors. The Dodgers are obviously set at catcher with Will Smith. Said Rushing, quote, "In all my years of playing baseball, I played just one inning in the outfield before this year. This has been a quick turnaround and a little bit of an adjustment, but that is kind of the lifestyle," unquote. Two more Rams offensive linemen were injured on Wednesday. Yippee! That brings the total number of injured linemen to 5. 5 of a kind. Yahtzee. Warren McClendon and KV Leviston turned their ankles in ways ankles aren't supposed to turn in the joint practice with the Chargers. They weren't supposed to be starters, mind you. They're already down 3 starters as it is. The situation has gotten so dire that it wouldn't be a surprise to see McVay utilize 2 or even 3 tight ends when play calling. But if you're looking for a positive in the camp, consider free agent safety Cam Curl. He's apparently been so effective in practice that it's allowing the Rams to use Quentin Lake in a variety of spots, including the so-called star position, which is a hybrid defensive back linebacker position created for Jalen Ramsey a few years ago, and he excelled at it. John Johnson said Lake expected to play the star this season and came in well prepared. Johnson said of Lake, quote, "His mind is a little calmer now. Last year it was kind of like, I don't know where I'm going to play. I just got to do my best. Now it's, I know my role. I know what I got to do. And he's doing it at a high level. Can't trick him anymore," unquote. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Are you a Chargers fan, and are you like, I don't give a bleep about what the NCAA says? Are you confident that Rui Hachinura is a good idea as the Lakers' 5th starter? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.